You know that feeling when a trailer drops and instead of chills, you just kind of feel secondhand embarrassment for everyone involved. The CGI looks like it was rendered on a PlayStation 2, the release date gets pushed so many times it becomes a running joke. The director bails 2 months before cameras roll, and you just think, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. And here's the thing, you're usually right. Some movies feel cursed from the moment somebody yells action. We're looking at the horror movies from 2010 to 2026 that had more red flags than a canceled carnival. The ones we all knew would suck, and man, did they deliver. So this ranking is based on 2 things: how many red flags these movies had before release and how hard they actually crashed once audiences finally saw them. And the #1 movie on this list didn't flop because of one mistake. It collapsed under years of delays, studio chaos, and a budget horror movie audiences were never going to save. We'll get to that one at #1. Let's dive in. #7, Spiral. At #7, we have a movie that promised to reinvent a franchise that was already on life support. Spiral, from the Book of Saw, released May 2021. The Saw franchise had literally called the 7th one Saw the Final Chapter, but money talks, so they dragged it back. Then came this idea: let's get a huge comedy star, Chris Rock, to produce and star, and let's get Samuel L. Jackson to yell a lot. The trailer was actually amazing. Felt like a gritty crime thriller, then bam, the Billy puppet shows up. Tricked a lot of us, but the early buzz was weird. Why was a comedy icon in a Saw movie? Was this going to be a spoof? The answer was somehow worse. It wasn't a spoof, wasn't a gritty thriller, wasn't even a decent Saw movie. Just a boring police procedural with lazy traps. Budget, $20 million. Worldwide gross, $40.6 million. Rotten Tomatoes, 39%. Lowest grossing installment in the franchise. Whatever momentum the franchise had left, completely gone. If you're into horror rankings like this, subscribe because we cover both the best and worst the genre keeps throwing at us. And if you want the exact opposite of this list after, check out our The 7 Best Horror Movies of 2026 ranking. #6, The Woman in the Yard. Now, one movie messed up so bad and so publicly that it has to be on this list. The Woman in the Yard released March 2025. This one hurts because it had potential. A creepy premise: a mysterious woman in black lace appears in a grieving family's yard, her chair teleporting closer whenever they look away. A solid director, Jaume Collet-Serra, who made Orphan and House of Wax. Blumhouse's name attached, then the trailer dropped, and within hours the internet did what it always does. Absolutely ripped it apart. Fans pointed out how it looked exactly like A Quiet Place. Same family trapped in the middle of nowhere, same creepy vibes, same mysterious threat creeping up. Comment sections became war zones. But worse, the studio panicked. They delayed it twice in 6 months, then dumped a second trailer that somehow looked even cheaper. By release date, nobody cared anymore. Budget, $12 million. Opening weekend, $10.1 million. Final domestic gross, $22.4 million. Rotten Tomatoes, 41%. Critics noted the premise had promise, but audiences found it too bleak. A movie about grief and suicidal ideation isn't exactly a crowd pleaser on a Friday night. One bad trailer killed this movie's momentum months before anyone saw it. We all knew it would struggle, and it did. #5, Rings. Okay, all right, #5 is a movie nobody asked for. It got delayed so many times it became a joke before anyone could watch it. Rings released February 2017. The original The Ring was a game changer. By 2017, nobody was asking for a 3rd chapter. But the true mark of this movie's doom was its release date history. This thing was originally supposed to come out in November 2015. Then it got pushed to April 2016. Then, hilariously, it got moved again to October 2016. Finally, after 3 delays, it was dumped into theaters in February 2017, otherwise known as the dumping ground for movies studios have given up on. When a horror movie gets moved out of Halloween season and into midwinter, the studio has absolutely no faith. And they were right. Budget $25 million, worldwide gross $83.1 million. On paper, that looks okay, but here's the real disaster. Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 8%. Audiences handed it a C- cinema score. A convoluted, lifeless mess that tried to update the concept with digital technology and failed miserably. Classic case of a cursed release date. The movie was dead before it even opened. Number 4, Renfield. At number 4, we have a movie with a superb concept that flopped because of an identity crisis. Renfield released April 2023. The pitch was genius, focused on Dracula's familiar, a put-upon assistant in a toxic relationship with his boss. And they cast Nicolas freaking Cage as Dracula. I mean, how could this fail? Here's how. Early buzz started circulating that Universal had absolutely no idea what to do with this thing. Was it a horror movie, an action comedy, a buddy cop film? The trailers couldn't decide. But the real doom was the budget. Production budget $65 million. For a quirky R-rated horror comedy, that is insane. To break even, it needed well over $100 million. What did it make? $7.7 million opening weekend, $26.7 million worldwide. Critics pointed out that the movie was ruined by excessive gore, one of the most bloody, violent mainstream horror movies ever made, and an identity crisis that confused audiences. And look, we are all excited to see Nicolas Cage sink his teeth into Dracula. That part we loved, but when you hear a studio dropping that much cash on something that weird, you just know it's gonna crash and burn. And from here, the flops stop being messy and start getting genuinely catastrophic. Number 3, Until Dawn. At number 3, we have a movie that made the fatal mistake of insulting its entire fan base before a single frame was released. Until Dawn released April 2025. Video game movies are always a crapshoot, but here's the thing about Until Dawn. The game is basically an interactive horror movie already. Specific cast, clever twist that actually works. When they announced a movie, fans were like, okay, maybe this could work. Then the plot details leaked. It wasn't an adaptation. It was a completely new story with new characters, just using the Until Dawn name as a brand. The early buzz was toxic. Fans who made the game a hit felt betrayed. General audiences were confused. Budget $15 million. Worldwide gross $44 million. Now, that's not catastrophic numbers, but here's the real stat. Rotten Tomatoes landed at 54%. Mixed reviews, not a disaster, right? But mixed isn't the point. The point is this was a textbook example of how to kill your movie before it even opens. Ignore the source material and gaslight the people who were guaranteed to show up. The movie opened in 5th place with $8 million, buried under Sinners, Revenge of the Sith, and a Minecraft movie. When a horror adaptation ignores the exact things fans loved, does that kill your interest immediately? Number 2, The Mummy. At number 2, we have a movie that was so obviously doomed, it killed an entire cinematic universe before it was even born. The Mummy released June 2017. Universal wanted their own Marvel-style dark universe. They assembled Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, and a $125 million budget that would eventually balloon closer to $195 million after endless reshoots. Then they released a promotional photo of the cast standing there looking absurdly serious, and the internet turned it into a meme overnight. Nobody was scared. Everyone was laughing. The warning signs were everywhere. Cruise had creative control, reshoots dragged on for months, and the studio announced spin-offs, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, before anyone had seen a single frame. When the movie finally dropped, it was a tonally confused mess. Neither scary nor fun, just Tom Cruise running from sandstorms while Russell Crowe did a baffling Dr. Jekyll impression. The numbers tell the whole story. 409 million worldwide sounds respectable, but when you factor in marketing, that 195 million price tag meant it needed over 500 million just to break even. Instead, it lost hundreds of millions. Critics eviscerated it. Rotten Tomatoes landed at a brutal 16%, with the consensus calling it big, loud, and incoherent. Audiences handed it a B cinema score, not an F, but for a would-be franchise starter with 2 A-list stars, that's a death sentence. Universal scrapped the entire Dark universe overnight. One movie, dead on arrival, and it took down a whole cinematic universe with it. Number 1, The Wolfman. This is it, the one that started it all, the one that lost more money than any other horror movie on this list. The one that should have taught Hollywood a lesson they still haven't learned. The Wolfman, released February 2010, had everything going for it on paper. Benicio del Toro, a massive star who actually loved the material, Anthony Hopkins at his most menacing, Emily Blunt, Hugo Weaving, and Rick Baker, the special effects god who created the werewolf makeup that would go on to win an Oscar. So what went wrong? Everything. The film sat in development hell for years. Original director Mark Romanek quit 2 months before filming was supposed to start. Creative differences, they said. That's studio code for we're about to make a disaster. Joe Johnston was hired 4 weeks before principal photography. 4 weeks to take over a $150 million movie. The shoot was supposed to be 80 days. It went way over. Reshoots inflated the budget, delayed the release, and turned the film into a Frankenstein's monster of studio notes. The release date kept shifting. First, it was 2008, then 2009, then finally February 2010. When a studio moves a movie that many times, it's not because they're carefully polishing a masterpiece. It's because they're staring at the footage going, oh God, what have we built? The budget ballooned to $150 million. For an R-rated horror movie, only Jaws and The Exorcist had made that kind of money back then. It was never going to happen. The finished product was exactly what you'd expect. A tonally confused mess where CGI was slapped over Rick Baker's beautiful practical work. It grossed $142.6 million worldwide. That's a loss of at least $30 to $50 million after marketing. It didn't even make its money back. And honestly, it taught Hollywood a lesson they keep forgetting. You can't just throw cash at a classic monster and expect magic. You've gotta earn that soul. The Wolfman is the definitive, most expensive, most obviously doomed horror flop of the last 15 years. So those are the horror movies that had disaster written all over them and still went ahead anyway. If you want the exact opposite of this list, watch our The 7 Best Horror Movies of 2026 ranking next. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video because Hollywood never stops making these mistakes.